I think we need new rules for business because the landscape of business has changed dramatically, particularly in the last 20 years, probably 10 years actually. And it's down to fairly obvious things like the rise of the internet, the fact that there's less regulation around, but also a change in mindset for people and the cultural shift that anyone can really start a business nowadays. Up until really quite recently, people who tried to start out on their own were seen as slightly shady, you know, it's like Arthur Daly and that kind of thing. That was the joke. But nowadays, I don't think you could do Minder anymore. It's much more accepted than it was. And actually, you can see every year more and more people are starting businesses because the overall stock of companies grows. There are millions and millions of businesses in the UK now, and things like the internet are allowing more and more people to start more and more businesses. So that's why. I think it's important now because we're going through a difficult period in the economy, and it's actually kind of jumbling up the way people think about what they do for a living, how they make their money, the ways in which they work, and I think a few people, bluntly, are being made redundant at the moment. You know, it's hard times. So I think a lot of people are considering, maybe for the first time, working for themselves, taking a big change in their careers, and starting businesses. And I think this kind of book could really help people make that decision more easily and have a good grounding for growing a business. I think what it does well is identify the personality traits of people who are successful. So whether that be determination or an eye for detail or big kind of expansive personalities, people who are good at marketing, that kind of thing, it really shows why they're successful from a personality point of view. The really interesting thing about meeting such a diverse bunch of people was that they are so diverse. There are so many different stories out there. They're really inspiring. Some of their stories are frankly quite amazing, that they actually managed to get successful from their starting points. The great thing about most of these guys is that they're so kind of in their businesses on a day-to-day basis. When they actually get the chance to talk about it broadly, they remember why they're doing it and they become enthusiastic and they love to talk about it. So some of the interviews would go on for a lot longer than they were scheduled for, but it was a fascinating experience. Who had an interesting office? I think probably the best office that I went into was Ian Powell, and he's a very senior guy at PricewaterhouseCoopers. He's one of the non-entrepreneurs that I interviewed, but he's very good on leadership because he has to communicate with so many thousands of people on a daily basis. But his office is sort of squash court size, and it's got this huge window overlooking the Thames, and you get this great view of the Millennium Wheel, which is about as large as the window is. So I think my most memorable interview was with David Gold, who built up Ann Summers and is now chairman of West Ham Football Club, simply because I went to his house. So and he's been in business for an awfully long time. He's worth an absolute fortune, and you can see that from his front gate. You can't see his house, but you can see a helicopter. In amongst all of them, there was some kind of unifying themes which I could pick out over the years, and I realised that it wasn't intelligence or necessarily even ability. It was more down to their personalities. It was perseverance, it was hard work, and lots of other more specific themes which they all had in common. And what I really wanted to do was write all those down and show other people that it was possible to start a business and make it successful without being a genius, basically.